Seriously, we are now 5 episodes into the show Reborn as a Vending Machine, and somehow a meme that collectively every single person who watches this show literally has admitted that they walked in thinking it was a joke, it can't be real, and that we were just going to laugh at it. Yet every episode, the writing, the actual quality with character interactions, plot details, world building, slice of life adventures, is better written than half the shows airing this season, which is actually saying a lot as there's some quality bangers that are airing, but somehow a vending machine isekai continues to do the impossible and has me say, how did this happen? How did a meme turn out this good? But this really does flex the author of the original source material's writing chops, because everything about an episode like this that has 3 or 4 little points to it, if it was a bad author or a mediocre author, right? These would just be like, oh, they're writing a scene where a bunch of people are showing off their magic items and it's, here's a stick that if I put a different head on, it becomes a different weapon, right? That's all a lot of these authors would do, but this one turns that little goofy gag into something that then actually propels world building and character dilemmas. And every time I leave an episode, I just take a step back and I say, how the hell did something that should have been the jumping the shark moment for many people when it comes to isekai rope us back in and say, actually, we're not jumping the shark just yet. We still got a bit to go. Maybe when that Hot Springs isekai comes out, that's when we can all collectively agree that, we may have jumped the shark, but time will tell. Now, of course, I do have a full uncut live reaction to episode 5 of Reborn as a Vending Machine available on my Patreon. If you'd like to see my full uncut thoughts as we watch today's episode, it is over there if you're interested. So there's actually a lot to really enjoy. First things first, I actually really want to talk about Lamis, who, we've already established she doesn't have balance. Right? So when she wears Boxo, this giant heavy vending machine, her punches connect and she doesn't lose balance. But there is a bit more to it as we start the episode off with her as a kid with Hyumi, who basically they knew each other from when they were younger, and they both lost their family, their parents. And the idea of someone having such a ridiculous amount of strength at such a young age, but even unable to crush a bug with that strength, right? There's no balance, she can't do anything, and almost like a collective guilt. This fear, this anger, this resentment for not only yourself not able to utilize it because you don't know your own strength, you might hurt those that you love, but in the moments when your entire village is burning or people are being hurt, you don't have the strength to protect them, right? So very clearly, we're going the route of Boxo being this support, that Boxo is a giant metal box. While very useful, he can't move without someone moving him, which is where Lamis comes in. But she can't fight because of a lack of balance without Boxo. So it's this mutual kind of cohabitation where without her, he can't move, and without him, she can't fight. And I really like what they're doing because, well, there's sometimes like these little bit of a perverted humor. I mean, someone pointed out last week that in the middle of, Boxo being a little flustered around Hyumi, he ends up dropping a bottle of milk after a kind of perverted scene. So there's some moments that maybe you can be like, okay, that's a little perverted, but it's hard not to laugh at that. But in general, the show surprisingly isn't as much of a meme as something that could just be a box selling panties every other episode, which is what I kind of fear most manga authors would probably write this as, or light novel authors, because that's literally probably the only idea they have. But when you kind of have someone who did their research, it's almost in a weird way like Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone does all this research for all of their inventions, so this could realistically happen given the technology and materials they have. It feels like this author did the same type of research, but making sure that okay, we're gonna research the hell out of vending machines so I understand what can and can't be isekai'd into this world. But it's really cool because we now have this more of an emotional connection. It goes to show why she was so freaking out when Boxo was gone, because this box really is her best friend at this point, which usually might be a little bit of a weird thing, a bit of a weird champ, but no, here it actually makes sense. And with Hyumi being a fantastic new addition last week, this, what I thought was going to be a mad scientist, actually seems to be a pretty compassionate one. She almost immediately figures out that it's a soul inside this box. And because of last week, we immediately knew when this other little girl starts marching out this automatron, we knew that's not right. That thing's gonna lash out and going to attack, because we know the idea of intelligent magic items, it can't exist. It has to be a soul. Given that we probably weren't gonna get lucky enough to have another isekai character, this is probably some very bad things happening, like killing someone, putting their soul in it. It's gotta be some mad experimentation. Doesn't seem like the kid knew about it, just more so this scientist would do whatever it takes, and as we see, you can literally blow up an entire town town by testing this. And it was really cool to see how she immediately just diffused the situation, and that thing was running like Oaken from Ranking of Kings. It was disturbing, but it's really nice because in this moment, we get to see that magic items in this world are so basic. It's almost basic inventions. Like, they're so primitive in a way that a lot of things that they might end up inventing will seem like magic to them, but now we have a talking vending machine, which, yeah, maybe he can only say pre-programmed phrases right now, but it still is a talking machine nonetheless. And the idea of how such a simple machine is transforming their world, like, they go this route of having this intense situation where it's like, oh my god, are we at like a cult gathering? Like, what's going on? Why are we having the round table discussion in this very ominous mood lighting? Turns out a chain restaurant, McDonald's for all we know, is coming into town and gonna put them out of business. So we need to say, how can we figure this out? Personally, what I wanted to see and was hoping would happen was he was going to turn into a vending machine that had spices and stuff so that he would give them spices that they could add to their own meals. Instead, he turns into like this pre-made kind of meals. Like, there's hamburgers, there's noodles, there's anything you could probably imagine in that one. And they use that in order to basically say, we have better flavors, we have seasonings, we have all the preservatives that kill us early in our own world. But it makes sense. I was just hoping that he would sell maybe spices and seasonings that would then make their own food pop out more, but it is what it is. But it does work because it's such a simple moment, but the idea that rather than just having Director Bear come in and say, no McDonald's, you can't set up shop here. I'm Director Bear. I say no to forest fires as well as the chain restaurants that's gonna put mom and pop out of business. Instead, they took matters into their own hands and they got the job done. And in doing so, we get to learn a bit more about this kind of culture, this situation, this city, and somehow things that normally would just be a meme or a one-off, one-shot gag gets you connected to the characters in the world. Really, the only characters I'm not really a huge fan of is Discount Beatrice from ReZero and her rival friend. I don't know, their personalities just feel like they're already a bit of chaos, and when they grow up, they're absolutely going to ruin some men's lives, but it is what it is. It does, in return, get us into this kind of like workshop where everyone's showing off their inventions, and we got to see some fun moments, which Boxo, I mean, it's probably good they didn't seemingly look at him, because after something ran wild and tried to kill them, it's probably good that the talking vending machine didn't also peep up and say, hey guys, welcome, you want anything? They probably would have grabbed their pitchforks and busted that thing open. But in general, like, you leave an episode and you just have to sit back and say, wow, looking at all the story beats an episode like this went through, any other author would have just made it so basic and just like, yeah, it's kind of funny, it's goofy, it's a vending machine, haha. But the thing that most people come out appreciating, myself included, is that the writing is actually solid. It's not a masterpiece, but instead it took a meme idea, keeps the meme idea funny, but actually writes characters and situations to be this almost cooking slice of life that continues to propel our love for the characters. And as seen by a character like Lamis and that rose scene or the flower scene, it was beautiful and it really gets you excited about where we're going from here. But let me know what you thought, because we're now 5 episodes into that vending machine isekai. What are you thinking? And what do you hope to see going forward? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you'll also get a video shout out. So today we have 3rd Dynasty, Joan Valdez, Eric Barton, Azope, and Ben Liu. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.